Hey, today's gonna be maybe another lackluster video, I don't know. I'm gonna start with a TMI ramble, so if you want to skip that, check the description for the code, like the time code of when I actually start talking about things. But anyway, like, I've got a terrible headache. It's the middle of the day, I'm in my pajamas, haven't done anything with my hair. I've got this really bad mouth ulcer on the inside of my lip there, and I was using this SM33 gel, and I think I might be allergic to something in it, because it burns like hell, and then it started to get worse around the area, and then my lips have gone kind of dry and horrible, and painful. Yesterday was really bad. It's like all I could think about was the pain. And yeah, about 2 months ago, I had something similar, except that my whole mouth was full of ulcers, probably from stress and, you know, whatever that virus is, the mouth herpes, that, like, everyone has as kids or whatever. Yeah, no, I had a mouthful of ulcers, and I used to use this stuff called Oracid, and, that's been discontinued, so yeah, we ended up with this SM33 gel, and at the time I didn't realize that it might be a problem because my entire mouth was pain. But after a while I got, like, you know, the painful lips and the peeling, burning skin kind of thing. But yeah, I didn't realize at the time. But a doctor recommended this mouthwash, I think it was Sepicaine, and also Medigel, so I stopped using the SM33 then and started on Medigel, and Medigel's great. It works well, and it doesn't taste like shit, and it doesn't burn. But yeah, I didn't think about the SM33 then, and then now I ran out of the Medigel for this ulcer, and I thought, well, there's the SM33, and I used it, and I think, judging by the similar symptoms and stuff, that's probably what it is. So my mouth is sore, so yeah, if I run off to grab some numbing cream from talking, that'd be why, but I'll try not to. And if I look like, my lips don't seem that red today. Yesterday they were probably worse. But yeah, nah, it's been awful. Yeah, so I've got that. I've got a headache probably from not eating enough because it hurts. I mean, like, once I get the food in there, it's fine. It's just the psychological barrier of, like, my lips are sore, I don't want to eat anything. Yeah, so that's probably what the headache's from. And then, because I'm an idiot, I decided not to skip my period. So I'm just, like, having the time of my life today. Anyway, so 3 minutes of TMI. Let's get to actually the video part. So a couple videos back I asked what you want me to talk about, and there's this one from papervampire. Hey, one of, like, my longest viewers, and yeah, you're fun, you're not too weird, but anyway, so you can talk about Mars 1, the Mars colonization attempt. They might at some point attempt, okay, you've written attempt twice and that's throwing my brain off. I think they intend to send 100 people one-way trip. What do you think about colonizing Mars? Would you go if you could? Or if not, why not? Should Mars be terraformed or just left a dusty, low-atmosphere planet the colonists would have to adapt to? Should Mars be politically independent from Earth, or should nations have representatives on Mars with long-distance voting, taxation, armies on Mars, Earth-Mars wars? Okay, that's the Mars part. Yeah, so I'm gonna say straight up, I have done no recent research on this, and even when I was looking at it more, most of my information comes from YouTube videos and, like, interviews of, you know, Neil deGrasse Tyson, or however you pronounce that middle bit, I don't know. You know the guy I'm talking about. Interviews with people like him on Stephen Colbert's show or whatever. American talk shows are so much fun. Like, I get all my depressing news, but with a dose of humor from them. Yeah, so I've done minimal research, so I'm probably gonna, like, have a really misinformed thing going on, and you might want to fact check before you use any of my opinions for your own. but this is what I think based on what I know. And yeah, go comment about all the shit that I get wrong. Because, like, the fastest way to learn is to get people to tell you why you're wrong. So, do my research for me. Anyway, so, Mars 1, the Mars colonization attempt. And sending 100 people. And what do I think about that? I think, like, you would have to be crazy to go in that first trip. It's like, you know, when a new Windows operating system comes out. Do not be the first person. My God, that's when they're still working out all the bugs, you know. Let the first 100 people go. Let them fuck up, you know. Let them have their catastrophe. And, like, they're the ones who are going to have to be doing the hard work. So, like, if you like all that kind of thing, the uncertainty, the pioneering, the hard slog, okay, sure, go. But, you know, I'm a lazy, depressed, slightly privileged chick. It's not for me. I'm not going to be on the first ship, you know. You're probably also going to have to be pretty fit, you know, if you're going to survive that. It's like, I don't know how long it is to get there, but it'd take a while. Even once Earth and Mars kind of come close, it's going to take you a while. But yeah, you know, I saw a thing saying they were probably going to send robots first to set up the main infrastructure, but once you get there, you know, you're going to have to do some work, because unless we waited a long time, I don't think robots are quite going to be able to set up everything and be mainly buildings and, I don't know, but it's still not going to be fun for the first 100 people, I reckon. And then I suppose for people who are more social, there might be the social thing that's a problem, because, like, if you're in a community of only 100 people, you might not like everyone, so there'll be conflicts. And also, like, if you're a really social person, maybe you'd be lonely with only 100 people, or, like, you know, out of that 100 people, you only like a certain few, but you have to put up with everyone, and I don't know, it's like being in a big business full of douchebags, and there will be someone who's the boss, and you've got to toe the line, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know, it doesn't sound fun to me. As for the idea of colonizing Mars in general, like, sure, go for it. I mean, I don't plan to go. And I also, like, you know, there's this idea, oh, humanity needs to be careful in case there's a big asteroid, you know, we want someone to survive kind of thing, and, you know, Mars is their solution for that. Or else they're like, oh, we're fucking up planet Earth, maybe we should, you know, go to Mars and set things up there, and, you know, or, oh, the world's being overpopulated, let's go set up shop on places like Mars and so on. And yeah, I don't know. See, like, okay, the survival of the species thing, if you could get a viable colony on Mars that kept surviving, yeah, you increase the chances of humanity's survival. Whether or not that's a good thing is another question. I'm pretty pessimistic about humans, and I'm not sure that we need our virus to spread across the, well, first solar system. I don't know that we're going to get out that far. I think we're more likely to blow each other up than really make a dent in the universe. And really, we can't get outside the galaxy unless some hilarious physics pops up. But, yeah, and there's this question about extraterrestrial life, like, why haven't they come here? If you think about how old the universe is, and how relatively quickly life got going once it got going here, you know, it's entirely possible that other intelligent species have come and gone in the past, and if just one was able to go planet hopping, even if they were like, okay, they go from their planet to their Mars, and then from there they go outside their solar system and sort of just, you know, take a few 100 or 1,000 years between each to hop to the next planet, even if they're doing, like, you know, cryostasis or whatever, like, you know, freezing themselves until they make the 1,000-year journey to the next planet or whatever. You know, if they're slowly spreading like that, if it happened early enough, they could already have gotten here, you know, but we don't see any evidence of that. And, you know, there's so many interesting documentaries about the possibility of life out there. And one of the concerns is you know, we haven't even seen the most basic alien species that does that ratcheting thing of going from planet to planet and gradually colonizing. You know, they've potentially had billions of years to spread like that across the galaxy, and we haven't seen any. So maybe that just doesn't happen. Maybe there's no possibility. Maybe every species either collapses or kills itself before it gets that far. And, you know, I kind of think we're more likely to go that way than actually colonize. But, like, should we try? Sure, go for it. I don't really care because I'll be dead before anything actually means anything. But yeah, you know, survival of the human species, I mean, basically, I don't care about the survival of the human species into, like, that many years. Because, like, eventually everything's going to die anyway. We're so obsessed with trying to preserve things, but life is ephemeral, you know, you can't preserve everything. So, yeah, I don't care about that. And then, I just don't think it's going to work out that well. I don't know, I feel like I had another thought, but it's escaped me now. And then there's the people who are like, let's solve overpopulation. But the population's growing so fast that if we made that our policy, if we made our solution to overpopulation being jumping from planet to planet, that's not really a solution because we're just going to need more and more space. It's crazy. And we don't really have the technology to go fast enough, I think, because after we max out the capacity of Mars, where do we go? We try and set up in the clouds of Venus maybe, which, like, crazy. I don't think the population thing's much of an argument. And then there's the one who's like, but we're destroying the Earth, you know, if Earth is going to be fucked up, maybe we should go somewhere else. And this comes up to the, should Mars be terraformed or just left a dusty, low atmosphere planet that the colonists would have to adapt to? Okay, this is one of Tyson's quotes, I think, but the gist of it is like, if we can terraform Mars, why don't we start with the Earth first? If you have that technology that you can turn a red dust ball into a thriving planet, isn't it easier to take our already thriving but slightly ill planet and just fix that first? The environmental thing is just like, yes, we're fucking up the Earth. Let's fix it. It's easier than fixing Mars. Mars is like, I mean, Earth is full of stuff that's trying to kill us, but it also has plenty of stuff that's perfectly easy to live. Like, look, here I am. I'm breathing. I don't need a mask to breathe. I'm not in a weird glass dome trying to breathe. I'm just breathing. And, you know, I can go outside and we don't have acid rain where I live, so I could just be like, hey, water, let's catch some water. You know, I don't even... You know what I mean? It's like, this planet is pretty fucking good. It's better than any of the other planets we've found so far. We haven't found any planets with the solid grounds that we really like and the natural resources that make it easy to live. So, you know, terraforming Mars isn't really a solution to that problem. I don't think we shouldn't try, though, because, you know, I mean, some people are like, why should we go to other planets at all? And they just focus on fixing this planet. But the thing is, and that's one of the criticisms of NASA is like, why go to the moon? Why create rockets and satellites and things? You know, why not just focus on Earth? But the thing is, with all this science and all the weird, supposedly pointless things that scientists do, is we end up accidentally creating technologies we didn't know we needed. Like, if we'd never had a space program, we might not have the satellites that allow us to communicate and GPS and, you know, if we weren't doing all these science things. I mean, the internet comes from I think a military science application, and whatever. And, like, if we figure out how to get to another planet, God knows what kind of technology, like, there's so much technology you need just to get there. And then the technology of trying to terraform something, if we can terraform Mars, we can take that technology and be like, oh look, an Earth problem, let's fix that. So I think, go for it. I'm just not going to be involved, you know, I just don't have the patience for a lot of this stuff myself, but I'm not going to say, don't do it. And the colonists, I mean, there's only so much the colonists are going to be able to adapt to Mars themselves. I think Mars would have to change a bit if you want to not live in domed cities for the rest of however. But another thing I saw is like, if we do end up with people on Mars, in a few generations people are going to look different because the gravity is different, so that changes the height and, you know, the strength and so on. The biome is different, so they're probably, the immunity of people on Mars is going to start diverging from the people of Earth, and this thing was suggesting that at a certain point you'll need quarantine procedures to go between Earth and Mars because, you know, I think the argument was that Earth is going to have more bacteria and viruses and stuff because we already just have more life here. So if you send someone from Earth to Mars, you may bring Mars some new virus that they just don't have the immunity to cope with, and you could wipe out your entire colony just by accident. So, you know, that's a problem. And then, yeah, should Mars be politically independent from Earth, or should nations have representatives on Mars? Blah, 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 blah. Armies on Mars, Earth, Mars, war, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I can't talk, fucking lips of fucking, and I'm just tired and whatever. But anyway, see, the thing is, at some point, biologically, humans who've been living on Mars, especially since birth, like, they're going to be different to people on Earth. It's just how it's going to be. That's one of the interesting things about all the science fiction out there, is people end up living on all these different planets, but they still look like regular humans. But I think on Mars, the environment is different, and, you know, with evolution, you have different environments creating different survival requirements, and with two planets, you have that isolation. You know, until travel between Earth and Mars gets really easy, for the most part, the populations will be separate. Particularly when the orbits are out of sync. You know, generally I think we still have to wait until Earth and Mars are a certain distance away in the orbits before we actually send anything. So, you know, you'd have this period of time where there's minimal contact, and so I think the species will gradually diverge. You know, they'll probably, it'd be a very long time before interbreeding becomes impossible, particularly if we keep mixing. But, you know, anything could happen, and this whole, should Mars be politically independent from Earth, I kind of look at my own country, right? So, at least for the white people's history in Australia, we came from Britain, right? And it's the same with America. Like, a lot of these Commonwealth places came from Britain, and so we're mostly a mix of white people with, you know, now there's multiculturalism, so, you know, there's more mix than there used to be. There used to be a white Australia policy here, and, you know, there's a lot of fucked up history. Maybe not as bad as, like, the stuff in America early on, but there's some pretty bad stuff in Australian too. And anyway, I'm getting off topic. There's been some politics lately, and that's probably in my head. But so, you know, originally, all these Commonwealth countries, with, like, you know, if you think of us as Mars and Britain as Earth, you know, we've had a connection for a while, but then at some point we decided, no, we're going to be our own country. We still have an allegiance to the crown. I mean, it's not like America where they've got their own president, head of state now. We still technically consider the Queen our head of state, but she doesn't do anything, and we mostly just look at our Prime Minister and all that. So, you know, the divide just kind of naturally happens. After a while, you're like, those people are so far away, they have no idea what we're actually dealing with in our country or planet, and, you know, you kind of gradually move on. And, I mean, we don't rely on Britain the way that we probably used to, you know, and I think that would happen a bit quicker with Mars, once they, well, actually, I don't know. For a while, they'd need resources from Earth, but because of the amount of time involved in transporting and how long they'd have to wait, you'd have to send a lot of resources over to Mars, and you'd want to get it self-sustaining a lot faster. So I think once Mars is properly established and, you know, people start having kids there and they become Martians instead of Earth people or whatever you want to call them. Terrans! Let's go for Free Space 2. I liked that game. But yeah, once all that starts happening and you have these long periods of isolation from the Earth, I think Mars will just become politically independent. You know, there'd probably be some remaining connection in terms of an alliance. I doubt that Earth and Mars would go to war. I think Mars would be at a real disadvantage because, like, you know, Mars is smaller than Earth, isn't it? I probably should have looked that up. I'm pretty sure Mars is smaller than Earth. So, you know, there's only so much space you have for people, there's only so many resources. And then, you know, depending on what kind of expertise they get over there as well, I think Mars would be at a disadvantage. You know, it'd be a bit like America and Australia going to war. America's population is like, oh god, heaps bigger than ours. We've got like 25 million and they've got over 300 million. You know, our countries are roughly the same physically, but we only have a certain amount of livable space, so we're probably more like Mars. You know, we've just got heaps of desert that only the indigenous people really know how to live on. Yeah, we just don't stand a chance. So, you know, I don't think Mars would have much success against the Earth in a war. They might protest if Earth does some shit that they don't like, but yeah, I don't know. And with this whole species diverging thing, you know, I'll come back to that part about, you know, let's preserve the human species. Well, the human species is going to change. It already has changed just on Earth, but once you start introducing a planetary divide, it's going to be a different species after a while. And then you'll have, you know, Mars humans and Venus humans, and I don't know, there are a few moons around some other planets that maybe someone could survive on if you don't mind living in darkness for a while or being incredibly cold. But hey, we're an adaptable species. And then outside the solar system, oh boy, the species are definitely gonna diverge because, like, unless travel is incredibly quick, but even if travel is incredibly quick, I think most people just want to settle on one planet and stay there. And I don't think there's going to be enough tourism and travel between them to really keep the species coherent. Yeah, so Mars. Have fun if you're going. I'm going to stay here and just live out my shitty, comfortable Earth life. Yeah. Medication. Yeah, I don't like the medication system on Mars either. Like, you know, they're gonna have to ship a whole bunch up there. And what if they only ship SM-33 and I can't use anything else for my fucking ulcer? Brah. I'm sure SM-33 works for some people, but there's something in it that my lips don't like. Anyway, I should probably get changed. What time is it? It's 2:25 p.m. and I'm still in my pajamas. I'm gonna get changed and pretend that I did something with my day. Mum's out, so when she comes back, you know, it'll look like maybe I got dressed a little bit earlier in the day. And I've got assignments anyway, so yeah. Have fun on Mars, guys. I'm staying here. Bye.